What if I told you that the very essence of God's presence is woven into the world in a way that most of us have overlooked? What if I told you that there are 7 spirits of God hidden in plain sight throughout the Bible, waiting to be discovered, waiting to reveal their power and purpose in your life? And what if I told you that these 7 spirits are not abstract concepts, but active forces in the world, calling you into a deeper relationship with the divine? For centuries, the truth of the 7 spirits has been buried beneath layers of tradition, misunderstanding, and misinterpretation. But today, we will peel back those layers. We will uncover the fullness of God's presence, revealed through the 7 spirits of God, and you will begin to see the world around you and your very own life in an entirely new light. Have you ever wondered why, in moments of challenge, you feel a stirring in your heart that pushes you to act? Or why, in times of uncertainty, a deep sense of peace fills your soul? This is the work of the 7 spirits of God. They are the wisdom, the guidance, the might, the understanding, the counsel, the knowledge, and the fear of the Lord, each one uniquely crafted to empower you, to heal you, and to transform your life. In this journey, you will discover the Spirit of the Lord, the very force that holds the universe together. You will understand how the Spirit of wisdom can guide your every decision, how the Spirit of understanding opens your eyes to the deeper truths of God's will, and how the Spirit of counsel can lead you in every decision you make. But that's not all. You will also experience the raw, unshakable power of the Spirit of might, enabling you to stand tall in the face of adversity. You will feel the embrace of the Spirit of knowledge, granting you divine insight into the mysteries of the world around you. And finally, you will understand the fear of the Lord, not as a fearful terror, but as the profound reverence that brings you closer to His holiness and guides you toward righteousness. Are you ready to uncover these truths, to embrace the fullness of God's Spirit in your life, and to walk in the power He has set before you? The 7 spirits of God are not just stories, they are the active, living forces of God that shape our world and guide us toward divine purpose. Stay with me. In the next few moments, you will understand why these 7 spirits have the power to change everything. You will be awakened to the transformative forces of God that have been waiting for you all along. This is not just about knowledge. It is about a deep, personal encounter with God's Spirit. Let's uncover the truth together, because once you do, nothing in your life will ever be the same. Spirit of the Lord, the foundation of divine presence. There is a power so profound, so tangible, that it holds the very fabric of existence together. This power is not abstract. It is real. It is the Spirit of the Lord. Before creation began, before the stars were set in place, God's Spirit hovered over the waters, preparing the way for everything that was to come. It is the breath of life, the force that shapes and directs everything. The Spirit of the Lord is the very presence of God in the world, His direct influence upon all creation. When we talk about the Spirit of the Lord, we are talking about more than just a passive force. We are speaking of God's active, living presence in our lives. It is the Spirit that empowered Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery, the Spirit that guided David to victory, and the Spirit that anointed Jesus as the Messiah. This same Spirit is available to us today, empowering us to live a life of purpose, strength, and victory. Imagine standing in the midst of a storm. The winds howl, the waves crash, and the world seems to be in chaos. But then, a calm settles over you, a deep sense of peace and purpose. This is the Spirit of the Lord at work in your life. It is the peace that passes all understanding, the strength to endure, and the courage to face whatever challenges come your way. In every moment of struggle, in every time of doubt, the Spirit of the Lord is there, offering you guidance, protection, and power. The Bible is full of stories of individuals who relied on the Spirit of the Lord to fulfill God's will. Moses was just a man, overwhelmed by the task of leading an entire nation out of Egypt. Yet, when the Spirit of the Lord descended upon him, he became a powerful instrument of God's will. His strength did not come from his own abilities, but from the Spirit that empowered him. The same is true for you today. When you face obstacles too great to overcome, when you feel like you are too small or too weak, the Spirit of the Lord is there, lifting you up, giving you the strength to move forward. We see this truth unfold in the life of King David. He was not a warrior by nature, yet he was able to defeat Goliath with a single stone. Why? Because the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and through that power, he was able to accomplish the impossible. The Spirit of the Lord doesn't just give us the ability to do great things, it gives us the authority to act on God's behalf in the world. It is not our own strength, but God's strength within us that allows us to overcome the giants in our lives. The Spirit of the Lord is also the source of divine wisdom. When we rely on our own understanding, we are limited by our human perspective. But when we seek the Spirit of the Lord, we gain access to divine insight. We see the world through God's eyes, and we understand His purpose for us in a deeper way. This wisdom guides us not only in our decisions, but in our relationships, our work, and our faith. But it is not enough to simply know that the Spirit of the Lord is available. We must invite it into our lives. We must open our hearts to God's presence, allowing His Spirit to move in us and through us. When we do, we begin to experience His guidance, His power, and His peace in ways we never imagined possible. Spirit of wisdom, the divine guide to righteous living. Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take? Have you ever faced a decision so significant that you felt paralyzed by the weight of it? The Spirit of wisdom is the divine guide that can help you navigate through life's complexities. Wisdom is more than just knowledge. It is the ability to discern God's will in every situation. It is the ability to see the world as God sees it, to understand the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface. In Proverbs 4:7, we are told that wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting get understanding. This verse emphasizes that wisdom is not just a desirable trait. It is foundational to living a righteous life. It is the lens through which we must view the world, the compass that points us toward God's will. And this wisdom is not something that can be obtained through human effort alone. It is a gift from God, given freely to those who ask for it. The life of King Solomon offers us a powerful example of the spirit of wisdom in action. When Solomon became king, he was faced with the daunting task of leading Israel. In his humility, he did not ask for wealth or power. Instead, he asked for wisdom. And God granted his request, blessing Solomon with unparalleled understanding and discernment. In 1 Kings 3:9, Solomon prays, "Give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil." God responded by giving Solomon not only wisdom, but also fame and fortune. Solomon's wisdom became legendary, and people from all over the world came to him for counsel. This same wisdom is available to you. It is the divine understanding that allows us to make decisions that honor God. Whether you are facing a personal struggle, a difficult decision at work, or a challenge in your relationships, the Spirit of wisdom can guide you. It helps you see beyond the surface of things and discern the true motives, the hidden truths, and the path that leads to peace and righteousness. But wisdom is not just about making good decisions in the moment. It is about living in alignment with God's will over the long term. It is about cultivating a heart that seeks to know God more deeply and to follow His ways. In James 1:5 we are promised, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him." This is a promise for all who seek God's wisdom. It is a promise that when you ask for wisdom, God will generously provide it. The Spirit of wisdom is not just a one-time gift. It is a continual process of growing in understanding, learning to see the world through God's eyes, and applying His truth to every area of your life. This wisdom equips you to live a life that reflects God's character and advances His kingdom on earth. But wisdom also requires humility. The more you grow in wisdom, the more you realize that your own understanding is limited. Wisdom is not about trusting in your own intellect. It is about trusting in God's guidance. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths." When you humble yourself and seek God's wisdom, He will lead you in the right direction. He will make your paths straight, guiding you toward His perfect will. And here's the truth. Wisdom is not just for the big decisions. It is for every moment of your life. It is for the way you interact with others, the way you handle your finances, the way you approach your work, and the way you live out your faith. When you are filled with the Spirit of wisdom, every area of your life becomes a reflection of God's goodness and truth. As you continue this journey of discovering the 7 spirits of God, remember that the Spirit of wisdom is here, ready to guide you in every step you take. All you need to do is ask, listen, and obey. When you do, you will begin to experience life in a way you never thought possible, full of divine insight, peace, and understanding. The Spirit of wisdom is not just a gift for the future, it is the key to living a life of purpose and righteousness right now. So what are you waiting for? Open your heart to the wisdom of God and let it guide you to a life that honors Him in all things. Spirit of Counsel, divine guidance for life's journey. Have you ever faced a crossroads, a decision so complex that you felt paralyzed by uncertainty? That moment when you didn't know which way to turn, where every choice seemed fraught with consequences. The Spirit of Counsel is the divine guidance that comes when you find yourself lost, when you need direction and clarity beyond what your human mind can comprehend. In a world brimming with distractions, where every decision seems to pull us in different directions, the Spirit of Counsel stands as a beacon of hope, offering clarity and divine wisdom. It is not just advice, it is a profound, God-given direction that points you toward His will, His purpose for your life. When you are overwhelmed, when the voices of the world drown out the voice of God, the Spirit of Counsel becomes the still, small voice that whispers in your soul, guiding you toward peace and righteousness. The counsel that God offers is unlike anything the world can give. It is the kind of wisdom that goes beyond human understanding. It sees the larger picture, the eternal truths, the hidden pathways, and leads you to make decisions that honor God and bring you closer to His heart. This is not about making the easiest choice. It is about making the right choice, even when the right path is difficult or unclear. Jesus Himself was the perfect example of divine counsel. Time and again, He navigated the complexities of life with wisdom that baffled His enemies and inspired His followers. In the Gospel of John, we see the story of a woman caught in adultery, brought before Jesus by the Pharisees, hoping to trap Him. The law said she should be stoned, but Jesus, filled with the Spirit of Counsel, responded in a way that no one expected. He didn't just offer a legal answer, He offered a life-changing, grace-filled solution that transformed the situation. Jesus said, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." His response wasn't just clever, it was divine counsel in action. It wasn't about judging or condemning, it was about revealing the truth in a way that brought healing. That is what the Spirit of Counsel does. It guides us with wisdom that transcends human logic, leading us to solutions that bring life, restoration, and reconciliation. But how does this Spirit work in our daily lives? How do we tap into this divine guidance when we need it the most? The key is surrender. The more we surrender our decisions to God, the more we open ourselves to His counsel. It requires humility, the willingness to admit that we don't have all the answers and that we need His direction. The Spirit of Counsel works most powerfully when we seek God's will in prayer, when we align our hearts with His purpose. This is why prayer is so vital. In those quiet moments when we sit still and ask for guidance, The Spirit whispers the answers that our hearts need to hear. It may not always come as a loud voice or a sudden revelation, but in the stillness of our hearts, we begin to feel God's leading. One of the most powerful examples of divine counsel in the Bible is seen in the story of King David. Throughout his reign, David sought God's counsel before every major decision. Whether facing battle or making strategic decisions for his kingdom, David asked, "Shall I go?" And God, through his Spirit, answered him, guiding David to victory and peace. David understood that the power of counsel lay not in his own strength or wisdom, but in God's guidance. The same counsel is available to you today. When you face decisions that seem impossible, when you need wisdom for a relationship, your work, or your personal life, the Spirit of counsel is there, offering you clarity. It is the whisper of God's voice guiding you on a path that leads to peace, success, and fulfillment. But you must be willing to listen, to trust, and to follow where He leads. So when you stand at a crossroads, when you are unsure of what direction to take, remember that God is not silent. He is offering you His counsel, leading you with wisdom, guiding you with His love. All you need to do is open your heart and ask for His direction, trusting that He will guide you in the best way possible. Spirit of might, the divine power to overcome strength. Courage, power. These are not just traits we admire in others. They are gifts that God offers to each of us through the Spirit of might. This is the Spirit that empowers us to rise above our limitations, to face challenges with unshakable confidence, and to overcome the obstacles that stand in our way. It is the strength that doesn't come from human effort, but from the very power of God Himself. When we talk about the Spirit of might, we are not just speaking of physical strength or courage in the face of danger. We are talking about the supernatural power that equips us to stand firm, to endure hardship, and to fulfill God's purpose, no matter the cost. It is the power that enables us to rise above fear, to walk through trials, and to accomplish things that we never thought possible. In the story of Samson, we see a vivid display of the Spirit of might. Samson was an ordinary man until the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. With that Spirit, he was able to accomplish feats of strength that defied human logic. He tore a lion apart with his bare hands, he carried the gates of a city on his shoulders, and he single-handedly defeated armies. Samson's strength was not his own. It was the Spirit of might, the power of God, working through him. But the Spirit of might is not just for extraordinary feats of strength. It is for the everyday battles we face in our lives. When you are faced with overwhelming circumstances, whether in your work, your relationships, or your personal struggles, it is the Spirit of might that empowers you to keep going. It is the strength to persevere when you feel like giving up. It is the courage to stand firm when everyone around you is bowing down to fear. Joshua is another example of the Spirit of might in action. When Moses died, Joshua was tasked with leading the Israelites into the Promised Land. It was a daunting responsibility, and the people looked to him for leadership. But God didn't leave him to rely on his own strength. In Joshua chapter 1:9, God tells him, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." This was not just a command, it was a promise. The Spirit of might would empower Joshua to lead the people, to face the giants in the land, and to fulfill God's plan for Israel. The Spirit of might gives us strength, not just for ourselves, but for others. It is the courage to speak the truth when the world is silent, the power to stand up for what is right when everyone else is compromising. It is the supernatural endurance to keep going, even when the road is long and the journey is hard. It is the strength to fight spiritual battles, to resist temptation, and to live a life that honors God in every way. And here's the beautiful thing. This strength is available to you today. When you feel weak, when you are overwhelmed, the Spirit of might is there, ready to empower you to stand tall. It doesn't matter how great the battle is or how impossible the task may seem. With the spirit of might, you are equipped to overcome. So when you are faced with challenges, remember that you don't face them alone. The spirit of might is within you, empowering you, strengthening you, and giving you the courage to move forward. Stand firm, for the Lord is with you. His strength will carry you through, and you will emerge victorious. Spirit of knowledge, the divine understanding of God's truth. Imagine standing in the midst of confusion, overwhelmed by choices, uncertain about what the future holds. And then, in that very moment, a clarity washes over you, a knowing that goes beyond mere intellect. This is the spirit of knowledge at work within you. It is the divine gift of insight, the ability to see not just the surface, but the deep truths that lie beneath. It is more than understanding facts. It is about grasping the essence of God's will, His eternal plan for you and the world around you. The spirit of knowledge is not the kind of knowledge we gain from textbooks or human experiences. It is a divine revelation that opens our hearts to the deeper mysteries of God's creation. When you are filled with this spirit, you begin to understand the world from God's perspective. You see His hand at work in every circumstance, in every person, in every event. The spirit of knowledge allows you to discern truth from deception, light from darkness, right from wrong. It empowers you to make decisions that align with God's will, even when the path ahead seems unclear. One of the most profound examples of the spirit of knowledge in action can be found in the life of King Solomon. When Solomon was crowned king of Israel, he didn't ask for riches or power. Instead, he prayed for wisdom and understanding. In 1 Kings 3-9, Solomon asked God, "Give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil." And God, pleased by Solomon's request, granted him unparalleled wisdom and insight. Solomon's knowledge was not limited to human wisdom. It was divine, a gift from God that allowed him to rule justly and make decisions that would benefit the nation. One of the most famous stories of Solomon's wisdom is the judgment he rendered between two women who claimed to be the mother of the same child. In a moment of divine insight, Solomon proposed to divide the baby in two, revealing the true mother. This was not just a clever trick, it was the spirit of knowledge, guiding him to discern the truth that others could not see. The spirit of knowledge works in the same way in our lives today. It is a gift from God that helps us navigate life's complexities with clarity. When we are faced with difficult decisions, when the world is full of conflicting information, the spirit of knowledge enables us to discern the truth. It helps us see beyond the noise, to recognize God's will in every situation. And just like Solomon, we can ask for this divine wisdom in our own lives. In James chapter 1:5, we are reminded, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." But the spirit of knowledge isn't just about understanding the world around us, it's also about understanding ourselves. It opens our eyes to our own hearts, revealing the motivations and desires that drive us. With this knowledge, we begin to see the areas in our lives that need healing, areas where God's truth can set us free. The spirit of knowledge is not just about learning more, it is about growing closer to God, understanding His purpose for us, and aligning our lives with His will. In a world that is constantly changing, the spirit of knowledge remains a constant source of truth. It is a rock on which we can build our lives, guiding us toward wisdom, understanding, and righteousness. And the more we seek this knowledge, the more we are transformed. Our minds are renewed, our hearts are healed, and our lives begin to reflect the divine wisdom that comes only from God. The spirit of knowledge equips us to live with purpose, to make decisions that honor God, and to walk in His truth. But like all the gifts of the Spirit, we must be open to receiving it. It is a gift that comes through prayer, through a humble heart, and through a willingness to listen to God's voice. When we seek knowledge with a heart that desires to know him more, the Spirit will lead us into deeper understanding, and our lives will be filled with the light of God's truth. Spirit of the fear of the Lord, the reverence that transforms. What if I told you that the key to living a life of true peace, joy, and fulfillment is found in one simple thing: reverence? It is the kind of reverence that transcends fear and ushers in a deep respect for God's holiness, a respect so profound that it changes the way we live, think, and act. This is the spirit of the fear of the Lord. It is not about being afraid of God. It is about recognizing his greatness, his power, and his authority, and allowing that recognition to shape every aspect of our lives. The spirit of the fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom and understanding. Proverbs 9:10 tells us, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." When we truly understand who God is, when we recognize his holiness and majesty, we begin to see the world differently. We begin to see sin for what it is, something that separates us from God, and we begin to desire to live in a way that honors him. This reverence is not a passive feeling. It is an active force in our lives. It compels us to turn away from sin and to pursue righteousness. The spirit of the fear of the Lord doesn't just tell us what is wrong, it empowers us to make the right choices. It transforms our hearts, enabling us to walk in obedience to God's will and to reflect his holiness in all we do. Job is a powerful example of this spirit at work. In Job chapter 1:1, we are told that Job was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. Job's reverence for God was not based on fear of punishment, but on a deep love and respect for the Creator. Even in the midst of suffering, Job did not turn his back on God. He trusted in God's sovereignty and remained faithful, knowing that the fear of the Lord was the foundation of his faith. This same spirit is available to us today. The spirit of the fear of the Lord transforms our hearts, turning us away from sin and leading us toward righteousness. It enables us to live a life of obedience and reverence, not out of obligation, but out of love for God. When we walk in the fear of the Lord, we walk in his presence, and his blessings follow us wherever we go. But this reverence isn't just about avoiding sin. It's also about living with a deep sense of awe and wonder at God's greatness. When we truly fear the Lord, we understand that he is the creator of the universe, the one who holds all things in his hands. This realization humbles us, drawing us closer to him and inspiring us to live a life that reflects his holiness and majesty. The spirit of the fear of the Lord also brings peace. When we live in reverence of God, we no longer fear the things of this world. We no longer need to worry about our circumstances because we know that God is in control. We can trust in his plan even when things are difficult, because the fear of the Lord gives us the confidence to know that he is with us through it all. As we continue to explore the seven spirits of God, remember that the spirit of the fear of the Lord is the foundation of everything else. It is the key to living a life of wisdom, righteousness, and peace. It is the reverence that transforms our hearts and enables us to walk in God's will. Seek this spirit and let it guide you in every moment of your life. When you do, you will find that living in the fear of the Lord is not a burden. It is a gift that leads to freedom, joy, and peace. Spirit of knowledge, unveiling the mysteries of God's truth. The world is full of noise, distractions, and confusion. Every day we are bombarded with conflicting information, with voices that try to pull us in every direction. But what if, in the midst of it all, there was a voice that cut through the chaos, a voice that spoke with divine clarity and wisdom, revealing the deep truths of the universe? This is the spirit of knowledge at work, and it is a gift that can radically transform your life. The spirit of knowledge is not about accumulating facts. It is about understanding the heart of God and seeing the world through his eyes. It is the ability to comprehend his divine plan and to recognize his hand in everything, every person, every situation, every moment. This divine knowledge opens the door to wisdom, allowing us to see beyond the surface, to understand the true essence of what is happening in the world around us. Imagine standing at the edge of a great mystery, staring into the unknown, and then suddenly, everything becomes clear. You see the connections, the divine purposes, and the meaning behind everything. This is the power of the Spirit of knowledge. It illuminates the darkest corners of our lives and reveals the truth that was hidden from our eyes. It guides us to live with purpose, to make decisions that align with God's will, and to walk in His truth. The Bible is full of stories where the Spirit of knowledge was at work in extraordinary ways. One such story is that of Joseph, the son of Jacob, who was sold into slavery by his brothers. Through a series of divine revelations, Joseph was able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams and predict a coming famine. His knowledge, given to him by God, not only saved Egypt, but also reunited him with his family. It was through this divine knowledge that Joseph was able to fulfill his God-given purpose and become a leader in a time of great crisis. But this spirit of knowledge isn't reserved for the great leaders of history. It is available to each and every one of us. When we seek the spirit of knowledge, we begin to see the world as God sees it. We understand our place in His plan, and we begin to live with purpose and clarity. It is a knowledge that transcends human understanding, a divine insight that guides us toward the truth. In our own lives, the spirit of knowledge can help us navigate the complexities of relationships, career decisions, and personal struggles. It allows us to discern the truth in difficult situations and to make choices that reflect God's will. It is the kind of knowledge that goes beyond intellect. It touches the heart, revealing God's heart for us and for the world. This knowledge isn't something we can earn or achieve through our own efforts. It is a gift from God, given freely to those who seek it. In James chapter 1:5, we are promised, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." This promise is not just for the biblical figures of old. It is for us today. When we ask for the spirit of knowledge, God will give it to us, guiding us to live according to His truth and His will. But receiving this divine knowledge requires humility. It requires us to admit that we don't have all the answers, that we need God's guidance in our lives. When we open our hearts to His wisdom, we begin to see things more clearly. Our decisions become aligned with His purpose, and our lives begin to reflect His truth. The spirit of knowledge transforms us from the inside out, revealing God's heart and equipping us to live a life that honors Him. Spirit of the fear of the Lord. Reverence that brings transformation. What does it mean to fear the Lord? In a world where fear is often seen as a negative force, the fear of the Lord is something entirely different. It is not about being afraid of God. It is about recognizing His greatness, His holiness, and His authority, and allowing that recognition to transform every area of our lives. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It is the foundation upon which all other virtues are built. The spirit of the fear of the Lord is not a spirit of dread or terror. It is a spirit of awe, reverence, and profound respect for the Creator of the universe. It is the recognition that God is not just a distant, abstract being. He is the Almighty, the one who holds all things in His hands. When we fear the Lord, we acknowledge His power and His sovereignty over our lives. This reverence is not passive. It actively shapes the way we live, the choices we make, and the way we relate to others. In the book of Job, we see a powerful example of the fear of the Lord in action. Job was a man who faced unimaginable suffering. He lost his wealth, his health, and his family. Yet in the midst of his pain, Job did not curse God or turn away from Him. Instead he declared, "Though He slay me, yet will I trust in Him." Job chapter 13:15. Job's fear of the Lord was not a fear of punishment, but a deep reverence for God's holiness and his perfect will. Job understood that no matter what happened, God was still worthy of honor, praise, and trust. This is the kind of fear that the Spirit of the Lord brings, reverence that transforms our hearts and minds, leading us to live in alignment with God's will. When we fear the Lord, we do not fear the world. We do not fear the opinions of others, the challenges we face, or the uncertainties of life. Instead, we fear God, and in doing so, we are empowered to live courageously, boldly, and faithfully. The spirit of the fear of the Lord teaches us to hate sin and to pursue righteousness. It opens our eyes to the destructive nature of sin and compels us to turn away from it. When we fear the Lord, we are not just afraid of his judgment. We are filled with a desire to please him, to honor him in all that we do. This reverence leads to obedience, and obedience leads to a life of peace, joy, and fulfillment. The fear of the Lord is also closely tied to worship. When we truly fear God, we worship him with all of our hearts, not because we have to, but because we want to. We recognize his worth, his majesty, and his beauty, and we respond in awe and adoration. The spirit of the fear of the Lord draws us closer to God, filling us with a deep sense of his presence and his love. It moves us to worship him not just with our words, but with our lives. This reverence for God brings blessings into our lives. In Psalm 128:1 we are told, "Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in his ways." When we live in the fear of the Lord, we open ourselves to his blessings. We experience his protection, his provision, and his guidance in every area of our lives. The fear of the Lord is not a burden. It is a gift that leads to life, peace, and joy. As you continue to seek the seven spirits of God, remember that the spirit of the fear of the Lord is the foundation of all the other spirits. It is the key to living a life of wisdom, righteousness, and peace. It is the reverence that transforms our hearts and empowers us to walk in God's will. When we live in the fear of the Lord, we live in the fullness of his presence and his blessings. As you stand on the edge of this revelation, take a deep breath and feel the weight of what you have just encountered. The seven spirits of God, so often hidden in plain sight, have been revealed to you today, and with them comes a profound invitation to experience life on a deeper, more transformative level. These aren't just abstract ideas, they are living forces, each one designed to guide, empower, and shape your journey. From the Spirit of the Lord that surrounds us, to the Spirit of the fear of the Lord that anchors our hearts, each one offers a unique power to navigate the stormy seas of life. Imagine for a moment the fullness of God's presence enveloping you in a way that is both overwhelming and comforting. His wisdom, his knowledge, his might, each spirit revealing a different facet of his nature, all beckoning you to step into the life he has always intended for you. Each spirit is not just a guide, but a companion, walking with you, leading you, shaping you into who you were always meant to become. There are days when life feels uncertain, when the weight of the world presses down upon us, when fear threatens to take over. But it is in those very moments that the Spirit of the Lord rises within us. The Spirit that gives peace beyond understanding, that infuses us with strength when we feel weak. The Spirit of wisdom, whispering to us, teaching us how to live not just wisely, but in alignment with God's purpose for our lives. The Spirit of understanding, unlocking the mysteries of the world, helping us to see things from God's eternal perspective. But these are not just theoretical concepts. They are living, breathing realities, waiting to transform our lives. God's Spirit is not distant or unreachable. It is here, now, offering guidance, comfort, and empowerment. And when we truly open ourselves to these spirits, when we allow them to guide our every step, our lives become more than just a journey. They become a divine adventure, marked by purpose, by grace, and by the deep love of the Creator. Think about the times in your life when you've been at a crossroads. Maybe you've been struggling with decisions that seem too big, too overwhelming to face. Perhaps you've been walking through a dark season, unsure of which way to turn. It is in those moments that the Spirit of Counsel becomes a beacon, offering clarity when everything feels clouded. And as you follow the divine guidance of this Spirit, you will begin to see doors open, paths clear, and God's purpose unfold before your eyes. Now imagine that you stand strong, rooted in the power of the Spirit of might. When life throws its hardest challenges at you, when the storm rages and you feel like you cannot stand, the Spirit of might rises within you. It is the power that transforms the weak into the strong, the fearful into the courageous, the broken into the whole. It is not by your own strength, but by the strength of the Spirit of God that you rise above your circumstances and keep moving forward. And then, there is the Spirit of knowledge, filling you with understanding that goes beyond the limits of human comprehension. This knowledge is not just for your mind, it is for your heart, for your spirit. It is the kind of wisdom that allows you to see beyond the surface, to see the hand of God in every detail of your life. With this knowledge, you will begin to understand not just what happens around you, but why it happens and how it fits into God's perfect plan. The spirit of the fear of the Lord will keep you grounded, helping you to live a life of reverence and awe. It will guard your heart, protecting you from the pitfalls of sin and leading you into deeper communion with God. When you walk in the fear of the Lord, you walk in His wisdom, His protection, and His blessing. Your life becomes a reflection of His holiness, and His light shines brightly through you. These are the gifts God offers us through His Spirit. But they are not just for the special few. They are for all who seek Him, all who are willing to surrender their hearts and lives to His divine guidance. And the best part, you don't have to do it alone. With every step you take, God's Spirit is there, walking beside you, leading you, empowering you to live a life that glorifies Him in every way. As you reflect on these spirits, let your heart be open to what God is calling you to. These aren't just stories or theological concepts, they are invitations to experience the fullness of God's presence in your life. And when you open your heart to these spirits, you will begin to see a transformation in yourself. You will begin to walk with a new sense of purpose, strength, and clarity. Your life will no longer be ruled by fear, doubt, or confusion. Instead, you will live by the power of the Spirit, moving forward with confidence, knowing that you are never alone, that you are always guided, always loved, and always empowered. If this message has touched your heart, if you feel that these words are speaking directly to your soul, I invite you to support this channel. Your like, your subscribe, and your comments are more than just a way to show appreciation. They are a way for you to join in this journey. When you share your thoughts, when you engage with this community, you help spread the light, the truth, and the love that God is pouring out through these messages. If you feel this video has brought value to your spirit, or if it has helped you find light in dark times, I invite you to continue supporting this journey. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps to keep the message of God's love and guidance alive. You are a vital part of this community, and together we can continue to grow, to learn, and to share the life-changing truth of God's Spirit with the world. Thank you from the depths of my heart for your support. You are not just a viewer, you are a co-laborer in this mission, and together we will continue to walk in the power, the wisdom, and the love of God's Spirit. May His presence guide you, may His peace surround you, and may His light shine brightly in your life. Keep seeking, keep growing, and keep shining.